So Classic WoW has been a huge success. WoW subscriptions are up, the community is seeing a strong active player base. However, what will happen when Phase 6 comes out and all of the content is completed? In this video I discussed what lies beyond the horizon for the Classic WoW community, as well as Blizzard's plan to make WoW bigger than it's ever been before. Hey guys, and welcome back to this Vaulty video. So a lot of people have been logging into Classic WoW and may have seen some queues, which is kind of a surprise since we haven't seen many queues since the launch of Classic WoW in the first few months. It's kind of odd that we have it today. This is partly due to so many people being under lockdown, but it's also showing that there's a lot of people that still have their WoW subscription, and that a lot of the people that started during the Classic WoW launch are still playing today and still have a subscription. As the queue times on a lot of servers right now is pretty much the same as what we had back in the day when Classic WoW just came out. So that's kind of impressive in my opinion. Classic WoW in general has just been a success. We can't say officially because Blizzard keeps their subscription numbers private now. I think that was due to Warlords of Draenor when they started bleeding subscriptions. Since then they decided to private their information. But judging by a lot of metrics, we can say that Classic WoW has exceeded Blizzard's expectations. During the first few days of Classic WoW's launch, we have seen over 1 million concurrent viewers on Twitch. Classic WoW has just seen a tremendous amount of support and hype, which is quite a stark contrast from what we were told back in the day, and we were basically told that nobody would be interested in playing Classic WoW, and here we are in Phase 3, and people still have to queue up for hours to log into their server. I think that kind of says something important. Whether or not this will give Blizzard some introspection and look into how retail WoW and some of the problematic features of that game, I do not know, but for sure, we are going to see some more stuff in the future for the Classic WoW community, I can almost guarantee it. In fact, Blizzard said themselves that Classic WoW was a test to see if they will be working on Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King servers. Now, about a week ago we had some big news of Blizzard sending emails to players asking how they would want to see character transfers from Classic realms to TBC realms. And this is kind of a big deal because the Burning Crusade hasn't been officially announced, yet they are pondering what they should do with character transfers and asking us for our feedback on how they would want to release Burning Crusade servers, which is basically just confirming that they have been working on TBC servers. I'm pretty sure that Blizzard started working on Burning Crusade servers after a few months of Classic WoW's launch. I think they had enough data to say whether or not the Burning Crusade would be a success, so they started working on it, I believe, a few months after the Classic WoW launch. And at this point I bet that they're pretty much just ironing out the details, which is why we got the survey asking us how we would want to see character transfers. Now, just to recap the survey, it's basically asking us if we would want to create brand new characters on a TBC server, or do we want to transfer our Classic WoW characters to go onto the Burning Crusade. Now, some people say that's a good thing, some people say that they want to start a fresh new character. There are arguments on both sides. However, more importantly, I think that WoW subscriptions are going to go up tremendously with the Burning Crusade. There is a significant crossover between the Classic WoW community and people that would want to play the Burning Crusade. This is due to the Burning Crusade having so many design decisions and elements in the game that is similar to Classic WoW. The core gameplay of the Burning Crusade is very similar. Leveling is time consuming and challenging, you have to look for dungeon groups by yourself, there's no automatic dungeon finder, you have the same pre-raid best in slot gear grind, and a lack of catch-up mechanics, meaning that any progress you make on your character pretty much stays with that character for the rest of the time. Whereas in Modern WoW you're basically playing a patch, and once a new patch comes out, a lot of the progress that you made becomes invalidated. That's not so much the case for Classic and TBC, and to a lesser degree Wrath of the Lich King. So there is inevitably going to be a big overlap between people that enjoy TBC and Classic WoW. However, there are enough new features in TBC that makes it quite a bit of a different experience from Classic WoW. Things like flying mounts, raid sizes being reduced from 40 to 25, heroic dungeons, daily quests, badges, and so on. It's fair to say that the Burning Crusade had a lot of new features in the game that were quite meaningful. However, this expansion was massively popular at the time, and continued Vanilla WoW's steady increase in subscription numbers. If the Burning Crusade comes out, will we see more people playing the Burning Crusade than we will Classic WoW? That's a real possibility. For anybody that is currently enjoying Classic WoW, chances are you will really enjoy TBC as well. It's basically more of the same with a twist. And there are some people that even prefer the Burning Crusade to Classic WoW. So these people that just want to play the Burning Crusade but cannot play it as of today on a Blizzard server are going to find a home similar to how people that wanted to play Vanilla WoW back in the day couldn't do so because Blizzard had no classic server, and now we have it. A lot of new people have gotten back into paying for a WoW subscription. With Blizzard going to release TBC servers, I think it's going to be a similar case of people being able to find their home and actually go back to playing a real Blizzard product, which is going to vastly increase the amount of WoW subscriptions. Now, why would some people prefer the Burning Crusade to Classic WoW? Well, one of the main reasons is that there's a lot more variety in viable specs. In fact, a lot of the specs that you cannot play in Classic WoW, you can play in TBC. For example, you'd have a much easier time finding a guild as a Shadow Priest in the Burning Crusade as opposed to Classic WoW. Not to mention, TBC was a lot more challenging for the casual player than Classic WoW. In fact, the Burning Crusade was regarded as one of the toughest periods of WoW for the average player. This was a big challenge, and juggling ults was not really a thing in TBC. There were some people that did it, but for the average player it was simply too much of a time commitment. You just had so much stuff to do in TBC. Here's an example. In Classic WoW, reputation just isn't really a big deal. In fact, I believe the only real necessary reputation for a lot of classes to get their pre-raid best in slot list is getting Alterac Valley rep. But aside from that, reputation in Classic WoW isn't that big a deal, it's more of like an optional bonus. Whereas in the Burning Crusade, reputation grinds were a much bigger deal. In fact, you couldn't even do a heroic 5-man dungeon without first getting revered with a faction, and then you could step foot into their dungeon and start farming your pre-raid best in slot list. Say you were a warlock and you wanted your gloves of the Dead Watcher. These are really nice gloves for a warlock that are in your pre-raid best in slot list. And these gloves drop from a boss called Sharak the Dead Watcher in Orkney Crypts. However, you cannot simply just walk in and start farming the boss and get the loot. You needed to get revered with the lower city before you could buy a key, which would then let you into the heroic version of the dungeon. So before you could even farm your pre-raid best in slot list, you would need to do a lot of faction reputation grinds, and in this case you would need to be doing Shadow Labyrinth many times to get 2000 rep each until you get to revered, and then you can get these gloves. There are many examples of items that you could only get by reaching a certain level of reputation with a faction. You also needed to farm a tremendous amount of gold to get your flying mounts. So as we all know, farming mounts, in particular the epic mount, is probably the biggest hurdle a Classic WoW player, at least a casual player, will have. And for many people, getting 1000 gold was a big deal. However, getting a mount in TBC is not just a luxury, it's a requirement. A lot of the content in the Burning Crusade can only be accessed if you have a flying mount. In a way, having a flying mount is like an attunement in itself. There are certain dungeons and raids that you need the flying mount to access. And getting an epic flying mount is 5000 gold, which is a tremendous amount of gold for most WoW players. Another challenging aspect of the Burning Crusade was the extensive level of attunements. Even just going into the entry level raid, which was Karazhan, required a really long quest line where you would need to collect key fragments and then you could assemble a key to enter into Karazhan. It takes a long time, whereas if we compare it to Classic WoW, you can get into Molten Core by just touching a rock in Blackrock Depths and you're in. Attunements in general in the Burning Crusade are really extensive. It only gets more complicated as it goes on. If you look at the picture to the left of me, you can see how elaborate the attunement process is in TBC. This is the most complicated attunements in World of Warcraft has ever gotten. It wasn't anything like this in Wrath of the Lich King or Classic WoW. It's only unique to TBC that there are this level of attunements. For this reason, many people didn't feel like making an ult in TBC for this reason. There's just so much stuff that you need to do on your character and so many things you need to work on. So many people believe that the Burning Crusade is basically Classic WoW, but Classic WoW hard mode. There's a lot of things in the Burning Crusade that are harder than Classic WoW. Now I think it's fair to say that when the Burning Crusade comes out, it's going to divide the Classic WoW community somewhat. Some people will want to stay and play Classic WoW and ignore the Burning Crusade, but I think the majority of people that are currently playing Classic WoW will go to the Burning Crusade and at least give the expansion a try. When people finish all of the content in Classic WoW and they have Naxxramas on farm status, I think a lot of people will want to start a new chapter, either that being a new character on the new Classic realm or continuing with their character in the Burning Crusade. For this reason, I think it's important for Blizzard to keep both Classic players and Burning Crusade players happy, and the way to do that in my opinion is to have fresh new servers into Classic WoW. We've seen this on private servers that when Naxxramas is out and it's been out for a while, the population on that server takes a sharp downturn. And we could see a similar case in Classic WoW. After Naxxramas is out and people have exhausted all of the content in Classic WoW, we could see a lot of people stop playing the game. The thing that keeps people playing an MMO is looking forward to new content. When people know that there's not going to be any new content, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people quit. In fact, gearing out your character so that you can have an easier time when the next phase of content comes out is pretty much the core of MMOs. The reason you go into Molten Core is so that you can gear up for Blackwing Lair. The reason you raid Blackwing Lair is so that you can have an easier time in AQ40. This is one of the core design elements of an MMO, and when there's nothing to do beyond Naxxramas, there's going to be a lot of people that will drop off. Now, a way that Blizzard can remedy this is by introducing fresh new servers, and this is basically servers that start at phase 1 and everybody starts from square one again, kind of like the launch of Classic WoW. Remember how fun that was when everybody was at a low level and just trying to level up as quickly as possible? A lot of people really enjoyed that experience, so I think it's fair to say that when Blizzard launches the Burning Crusade, we will also see fresh new servers in Classic WoW. This way we can keep both communities happy, both the Classic WoW players and the Burning Crusade players can be happy, so I think Blizzard would have to be very stupid not to have fresh servers for Classic WoW. It seems like a no-brainer to me. Because if they just leave phase 6 servers alone and they don't actually do anything in terms of fresh new servers, there's going to be a lot of people that could cancel their subscription and maybe even go back to playing private servers, which is something that Blizzard of course does not want. Blizzard even said that they will be closely monitoring Classic WoW to see if they will even make Wrath of the Lich King servers, so later on down the line, depending on the performance of classic TBC realms, we could see Wrath of the Lich King era servers as well, which is just a really crazy situation. In that way, we would have 4 versions of WoW to play. I think Wrath of the Lich King would be the limit. I don't think this classic experiment will go beyond Wrath of the Lich King. I really can't see people demanding to play Cataclysm and Mist of Pandaria. I could be wrong, maybe people do have nostalgia for those eras of WoW. Maybe in like 5 years people could want that, but right now I don't think people are looking beyond TBC and Wrath of the Lich King. At least that's from Blizzard's perspective. They were the ones that said depending on Classic WoW's performance, they would make a decision if they would work on releasing TBC and Wrath of the Lich King servers. In any case, I think the future of WoW is very bright. We're going to get a tremendous amount of new subscriptions and people returning to World of Warcraft with the Burning Crusade. We've got a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of great content coming to Classic WoW soon, with Zul'Gurub coming in phase 4 and TBC on the horizon. Well guys, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below as it helps me out a lot. This is Vaulty, signing out.